Is this happening to you? Then you're in the right place for video game training. In this video, we're going to take a look at how to defeat the Dragonslayer Armour. This is a required boss, and you'll need to defeat him in order to progress to the Grand Archives. First of all, I'll just show you our character's setup for this fight. We'll be using the sharp version of the Sellsword Twin Blades. Our character has a high dexterity, which increases the attack with a sharp type weapon. We've got the Grass Crest Shield on our back for stamina regen, Lloyd's Sword Ring for a 10% attack increase as long as our HP is full, Pontiff's Right Eye for a damage increase, Chloranthy Ring for stamina regen, and Flynn's Ring, which increases our attack as long as our equipment load is low. We'll also be using Pale Pine Resin, which substantially increases our attack. Pale Pine Resin adds a magic effect onto your weapon. You can pick up 2 of these resins in Irithyll Dungeon. Don't worry too much if your weapons and armor are not 100% identical to this, as the mechanics that we'll go over will still work for any class. I'm just showing you our setup so you can see what we're working with. Also, you can activate an elevator shortcut just in front of the Dragonslayer boss fight entrance. You can apply your Pale Pine Resin before you go into the fight or just as you enter the fight. Essentially, with Dragonslayer, we're looking for one particular attack combo which leaves him open for us to get a counter attack in. The main combo that we're looking for is for him to do 2 horizontal swipes and then do an overhead swipe, which gives us an opportunity to attack. With the 2 horizontal swipes, the first one you'll want to roll and dodge out of the way. The second horizontal swipe doesn't seem to have quite as much range as the first one, so usually you won't have to roll for the second one. And then, as long as you're still relatively in front of the Dragonslayer, that will bait him to do his overhead slam attack with his weapon. And essentially, we're wanting to bait this overhead slam attack so we can get in our attacks from behind. The way that I do this fight is I actually don't lock on, and I'll generally just try to keep my character relatively in front of the Dragonslayer. I'll dodge and roll any attacks that aren't the one that we're looking for, and I'll just be patient and keep baiting his attacks until he gives us the combo that we want. After he's done the weapon slam into the floor, it generally gives us time to do about 1 or 2 attacks before we have to get out of there. After you've delivered your 1 or 2 attacks, just get back into the same position again in front of the Dragonslayer. Just keep being patient and baiting that combo that we're looking for. You should be able to sprint around the back of him while he's preparing this slam, and then by the time the weapon does slam into the floor, you'll then have time to deliver 1 or 2 attacks. That is essentially phase 1. Just do that until it pushes him into the next phase. When you push him into the next phase, he'll kind of do a stagger backwards animation, and just after he staggers backwards, he'll then do a massive weapon slam into the floor. When you see this stagger back animation, you'll want to get behind him and put in as many attacks as you can do. Most of the time when he goes through this phase change animation, after he's done his weapon slam into the floor, he'll generally follow that up by holding his weapon in a different style. And if you see him holding his weapon differently, he's about to do quite a large horizontal swipe. When he does the horizontal swipe in this particular way, it's got a massive hitbox, so make sure to dodge. Ideally, if you can be behind him, that's the safest place to be for this massive horizontal swipe. The hitbox on this thing is really crazy, so be very careful with this. Also, just be aware of the timing of the roll with this attack, because the roll timing with this attack is about half a second later than what you think it would be. As he prepares this large horizontal swipe attack, he kind of moves a little bit first to bait you, and then there's a slight delay, and then he actually does the attack. So just keep your eyes peeled for this. In phase 2, you can actually just use the exact same mechanics as phase 1 and keep trying to bait that 3-hit combo with the overhead slam. Baiting that 3-hit combo still works completely fine, but to make things a little bit spicier in phase 2, you'll have 2 pilgrim butterflies on either side of the bridge. These things will shoot various different attacks at you, so you may need to rotate your camera around a little bit and look out for these incoming attacks. If you listen carefully, you can also hear their attacks building up with an audio cue, so as that audio builds up, you should be expecting one of their attacks to come over to you. I actually just wanted to show you a slightly different setup and a slightly different way that you can approach this fight. If you want to, you can actually use the red tier stone ring as well. So the red tier stone ring will give you a 20% attack increase as long as your HP is below 20% of its maximum. The red tier stone ring can be picked up from a balcony very close to the entrance of the Dragonslayer Armour fight. You can also climb up onto this building and jump off a couple of times to lower your HP, which is a really nice and easy setup for this fight. Using a combination of the red tier stone ring and the pale pine resin will allow you to do massive damage. The only downside to that is if you get hit once, you're dead. I also just wanted to show you that if you get too far away from the Dragonslayer armor, he actually has a ranged attack as well. So just look out for this ranged attack. You can actually dodge through it if he does do this. Also, it's worth mentioning here that even if you do kill the Dragonslayer armor, if one of the Pilgrim Butterflies is still doing its attack, you can actually still be killed by the Pilgrim Butterfly's attack. So be very careful of this hitting you after you've taken out the Dragonslayer armor. With a bit of practice, time, and patience, you should have this fight mastered in no time. Hopefully you found this guide useful and it helped you out in some way. If it did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel.